Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new Flutter tutorial. Today we are going to discuss about the state management. Everyone discuss about the project, everyone discuss about the you need to learn a state management, and everyone discuss about the big project. Behind this all, first step you need to do is basic of these things. Why state management is required, how you have used the state management, what is the first steps you need to do during the state management. We have discussed about the basic of the state management. I have used the provider is a state management, and I have used the expense tracker app to demonstrate you how is it work, why we have used the state management, what is the importance of basics. That's why I'll create this video to have actually discuss about the basic of the provider state management, and at the same time you have learned the expense tracker, how you have created. I have not focused on the UI part. I have already created the lots of UI design. Here is the monthly summary, total income, total expense, and the remaining balance. If you have entered the income, then it's green. If you have entered the expense, then it is the red. Here initially it requires the title and amount. If you are trying to add the transaction without providing any name and amount, it is not success. First let's provide some. I'll provide the education is a title, and I'll provide the $100 is the amount. You can see income by default it is selected as income. You can see the green signal is a text color. If you have changed its color change from green to black, and expense color change from black to red. If you have add this transaction add is expense. Let's edit. You can see total income $5,000, total expense $200, and the remaining force is $4,800. By this way you can easily learn the basic of the state management, and at the same time you have create the one expense tracker app. Let's start the complete video and learn something new. Let's start the complete video. You have already seen it in the demo. What we are going to do, we are going to create an expense tracker app. Our main motive in this video is we are going to focus on the basic fundamental part of the state management. We have used the provider as state management. Initially you can see in my main screen, this is my main function, and inside this stateless class I'll just pass home as a home screen. Inside this screen there is nothing. We have going to do from the zero level. First steps we have going to focus on the state management parts. That's why our first steps is you need to add the provider package. Use the latest package. I have already added this package in my system, and after this all in my this expense tracker folder I'll create another folder that is provider, and inside this provider I'll just give the name of transaction provider dot. I'll instruct you the every part in this provider section. I'm not focusing on the UI part. I have already created the lots of video and UI section. I have already created the project using the provider. Here you can see. You can visit my channel and see the provider state management playlist, add to product function, and favorite functionality, calculator app, theme provider. I have used different type of function in provider. But I think most important things on there is the basic, how it's work, why we have required this, and every part of this function, how it is work. Let's start. First we have require class. Inside this class we have used the different type of function, list, and some other. In every programming language first it's required the class, and second things is give the class name. You can give any name as a class name. I'll give the transaction provider, and with you can use the extend as well, but I'll use the with and change notifier. What is this change notifier? Why we have used this change notifier? Change notifier, this is the class provided by the Flutter that allow object to notify listener when change happen. You are getting my point? Widget can listen to the transaction provider to get notified and rebuild when change occur. Change notify allow object to notify the listener. That's why we have used the change notifier. Inside this notifier we are going to store the list of transaction. That's why we have created one list. Final list, I'll give the name of transaction, and I'll make it private. From where this transaction is, I have created the simple model. We have required the model. Why we have required the model? Because there is the more than one items in the transaction. If you have add some expense if you are add some income, if you are add some income, if you are add some expense, then this is the multiple more than one, there is the list of item. That's why we have required the model. Inside here I have used the id, title, amount, data and is income. This is my model class. First you need to create this class. I'll provide all the source code, link is in the description, but I'll request you watch this tutorial first and try to do private list. This is the private list. We have used this list to store all the transaction. That is clear. Now second things is we are going to get the data from this private list transaction, and we have used the get keyword, and this is transaction from where, from this private transaction. We have created this public getter to access the list of transaction. We have created this public getter by the use of get keyword for which purpose, to access the list of transaction from this private list. Okay, after this, now for calculating the total income, I'll use the double keyword because the total income, it's maybe in point, it's maybe in double digit. Total income tends to transaction. We have used this getter calculate the total income from this transaction. And how we have calculated, dot where, just I'll give this name tx, we have used it later. Just give the name, you can give to any name, tx, this tx dot is income. If it is income, then dot fold. First I'll write the code, then I'll instruct you every steps. I'll write the 0 and sum tx tends to sum plus tx dot amount. First in these steps, what we have doing, filter for income transaction. Is this, first we have filter, is this the income or not? We have first identified them. Second we have sum their total income. First we have filter for income transaction and then sum their amount. This entire 3-line code work. This getter calculate the total income by filtering the transaction from those marked as income, tx.is income, and summing their amount using the fold. We have used this dot fold to add the amount. It start with initial 0. Next we have calculate for the expense. I'll just copy this from here and just paste it below this code. And total income, I'll change its name to total income to total expense, and we have used the same transaction dot tx. If this is not a income, first we have filter it is income or it is not a income. If this is not income, then it is already a expense. And second fold and remaining all are the same process. Sum their amount, calculating the total expense similar to total income. This getter compute the total expense by filtering out non-income. It is not an income transaction, then sum their amounts. It also starting from the 0. Initially its value is 0. Our next steps is, first we have calculate for the income, second we have calculate for the expense, and next steps is for the remaining amount, for the remaining balance. This is just simple. We have used the double. If income and expense is double, then it is already also a double. We have also used the get keyword, and I'll give the name remaining balance. Remaining balance tends to total income minus total expense. This is simple. Total income, how much you have earning, just subtract from total earning from the total expense. Next steps is method to add a new transaction. This transaction may be income or it is a expense. I'll give the name, function name is a transaction string. In our transaction there is the 3 parameter. First title, second amount, and third is income. It is income or expense. Every time we have created a new transaction object with a unique ID and the current date and time. We have give its ID, unique ID is a current date and time. Final new transaction. Here ID, title, amount, date, and is income. ID is from current date and time, date time dot now dot to string, and title is from title, amount is from amount, spelling mistake, amount, amount, and date is current date time dot now, and is income. It just is income. It is clear during adding the new item. Now after this, add a new transaction by insert index is 0 and element is new transaction. Adds a new transaction at the beginning of the list, ensuring the most recent transaction appear at the top, just like a first is in the top. If you have add any transaction recently, then it is located as in the top of the list. If you have mistakenly add some item, then it need to be a delete. Then we have create the method for the delete. If you want to delete any item, it is the easier process. We have used the ID to delete because every item ID must be a unique. From where transaction list, we have delete the item from the list of transaction dot remove where, then I'll just give the name as tx dot id. We have just used the id to delete any item. First we have find the transaction with the matching id and remove it from the list, and then we have used the notify listener. Notify listener, it is used to notify UI widget to update, reflect the remove transaction and recalculate the total and update on the UI. We have also forget to add notify listener on there. I think that's it. Let's see what happened. The declaration remove transaction isn't refer. Oh, I think I have defined it inside the ACE transaction function. Okay, that's it. I have spent more time on this provider part because my first motive is to instruct you core part of the basic of the provider state management. After this all, we have do it fast or the remaining part. Next, I'll just create another folder and the name give the widget. First, let's go to the home screen, and inside this home screen, first let's have add the app bar and give the name of our app bar, and text name is expense tracker, and the body I'll use the column and children. First what we have required is add any transaction button, floating action button, on press, and inside icons dot add. Inside this floating action button, we have used the function to add this function add any item. By clicking on this floating action button, let's save it first. By clicking this add button, we need to open the bottom sheet, and inside this bottom sheet we have add our transaction, and here is the widget section, new file, and I'll give the name add transaction dot. In a transaction, we have required a stateful widget, stf stateful widget, and give the name a transaction. Here, first I'll give the padding age insert.all. I'll give the 15 is a padding, and child column children. Inside this column, we have required two text field and decoration, input decoration, and just label text to decorate this app. This is your task. I'll just make it simple. I'll copy this text field and paste it below this text field, and I'll change the label text name as amount. And next thing that we have required is controller. Final title controller tends to text editing controller. You can give any name to this controller. I'll give the title name and amount. I'll give the title controller and the amount controller. Inside this text field controller, I'll give the title controller, and in amount I'll give the amount controller. After this, we have required the two things. First is income and expense. If we are going to adding some new item, then we have add this item, it's maybe as income or it may be as expense. That's why I'll put them in a row children, and I'll put them main axis alignment dot space between text income style text style. I'll put color and I'll just copy this one time and just paste it, and I'll just change this income as expense. In between this income and expense, I'll require the switch button to identify it's maybe income or the expense. Switch, it requires the value and unchange. Initially, we have require a boolean to track if the transaction is income or expense. Bool, I'll make it private, is income tends to true. I'll set it initially as a true, and value is income. And in unchange, I'll pass the value here, and we have update the state, set state is income tends to value. Let's call this a transaction function inside the home screen. So model bottom sheet context tends to context, and inside this builder we have show the a transaction. Let's see how does it look. Yeah, that's it. Initially it is the income. If you have just add this, but I'll make it dynamic for your easy purpose. If is income tends to true, then its color will be green, otherwise its color will be black. If income color is green, then it is added as a income, and if it's black, then it is added as expense. And I'll set just same as a expense, but I'll just change the color. If the color is red, then it is expense. Let's save it. Oh, this is not true. This is false. Save it. Yeah, here you can see this is income's color is green. Then if you have add any item, then it is added as a income. If you have just switch it and add it, then expense color is red, then it is added as a expense. Now another thing is we have required the expense button here. For that purpose, I use the elevated button on press. Inside on press, we have write the logic behind adding any new transaction. This is add transaction. Let's write the logic method to handle for submission. Void submit data final title tends to title controller dot text, and final amount tends to double dot try parse amount controller dot text, otherwise 0. We have get the title from the text editing controller, and we have get the amount from the amount controller. Now I'll validate it. If title dot is empty and amount is less than equal to 0, then return. What does it mean? Title should not be empty and amount should be at least greater than the 0. If title is empty and amount is less than 0, then it's not added as any of them. Next thing is use the transaction provider to the new transaction. We have called the provider dot of context, from where transaction provider context listen false dot add transaction is a title, amount, and is income. That's it. And next thing that I have is close. We have closed this bottom sheet after adding any transaction. Navigator dot pop context and a transaction. Let's call this submit data. Inside this button, what is the name of our submit data? Submit data. Okay. Now our next task is we need to display this added data here. Just I'll give the name transaction list dot. We are going to display the list of transactions that we have added. This is the process to display the added list here. First we have initialized the provider here in this screen, and I have used the list view.builder. Why? Because we are going to display the multiple list and item builder, context and index here, from where we are going to display the list from the transaction provider.transaction. Item count is transaction provider.transaction.length. This length is how many transaction you have it. This all the transaction are display here. It's maybe a income or it's maybe a expense. During on long press, this transaction will be deleted according to its ID. Here in list style, we have first display the title of this transaction, and in subtitle we have display its date, and at the trailing part of this transaction we have displayed the amount of this transaction. And if it is income, then its color is green, and it is expense, otherwise income, then its color is red. This is by this simple way we have displayed the list of transaction. I'll show you how it look after this all. Last one things is remaining, that is summary card. Before that, I'll just show you the expanded. Inside this expanded widget, I'll add the transaction list. Child transaction, add transaction. No. What is the name? Transaction list. Inside this expanded, I'll display the transaction list and just save it, and I'll restart. Oh, what happened? What is the error? Could not find the correct provider, transaction provider above this transaction list widget. Oh, I'm forgetting to initialize the transaction provider in our main screen. Wrap this material app, wrap with widget, and the widget is change notifier provider, and create context, and that is transaction provider. That's it. Save it. Remaining all are good. Let's add some item. This is for child amount $100. This is the expense and a transaction. This here you can see, congratulations, you are successfully create your app without any error. Without wasting time, I'll just add the summary section here. In widget section, I'll give the name summary card dot. On there, I'll just display the total income, total expense, and the total remaining first. Here you can see, I'll first initialize the provider, and second things is I'll use the card and I'll give the padding. Here I have write the one text that is monthly summary, and inside this row first I'll give the total income from where transaction provider dot total income, and I'll set as a toString dot fix. That means only display the two integer after the decimal. And here is the total income, here is the total expense, and here is the remaining balance. Total transaction dot remaining balance. That we have all created function in our transaction provider. Here, this is our total income, this is our total expense, and this is our remaining balance. And I'll save it here, and I'll go to the home screen, and just call this summary function here, summary card, and just save it. Yeah, your total expense is $100, your remaining parts is minus $100, you are is in loan, and your total income is 0. Let's add some income. Bonus amount is $500. This is already a income, and let's add transaction. This is immediately reflect on all portion. Why we have used this provider? It manage the state in different screen. If you have display this monthly salary in different section or by the use of the chart, it directly reflect in every screen. It track the record in different screen. Total income is 500, total expense is 100, remaining parts is 400, your bonus is 500. It is income, that's why its color is green, and this is expense, its color is red. Let's add one last expense here. This is for education. Education, it is $300 and just 8 transaction, and I'll add on another expense. I'll give the name ABC and I'll give amount to 50 and I'll make it an expense and 8 transaction. I have used education as a income. I'm going to add this as expense, but mistakenly this is just add as a income. By you have just long pressing on it is deleted. I'll make delete function. Why? Because some item is mistakenly added. That's why we have require a delete function as well. By deleting this all, remaining function are perfect. Your total income is 500, expense is $150 and your remaining force is $350. By this way, you can easily create your expense tracker app. Another most important things is you have understand the basic of provider, how is it work, what is change notifier, why you have used the private keyword, why you have used a getter keyword, how you can access data from the public getter, how you have add the new items, how you can delete any items. This is the basic. Before you need to create your long project, first things that you need to know is the basic. Everyone underestimate the basic part of anything, but basic is always important. I have already created a playlist, but I have thinking basic is important. That's why I'll create one basic video. It is just a 20-30 minute video. I'll try my best to instruct you. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.